Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin. Thank you for tuning into our podcast, The Secret War on Cash, where we take a hard look at some of the hard facts and changing dynamics that are taking place each and every day in our economy. And I brought with me Chris Agelastos, my co-host, to talk about some of these things as well. Good morning, Chris. Welcome home. You just battled through the TSA and getting home with some delayed flights, so nice to have you back. Glad it all
Yeah,
went
good,
well.
good to be back. Compared to others, my problems were pretty minor, thankfully.
That's good. Couple delays. Yeah, you said your daughter was trapped in Chicago for a couple of days, so you know,
That's right. She got to
it.
have a little winter snow or a fall, I guess.
I mean, in your case, thankfully your travel was somewhat discretionary. Where
Yeah,
worst case, A, you almost could have driven, but B, you could have not done it at all. It just would have missed out on an opportunity. It was your wife's 50th birthday, so happy
yep,
birthday to her, by the way.
yeah,
Um, but nonetheless, a lot of people, like, heaven forbid, they're in a situation due to death or sickness or something like that. It's kind of been a mess, and hopefully the mess
yeah.
ends soon. So, well, let's talk about something not messy at the moment, anyways. Let's take a look here at the first article. In fact, uh, one of our most tenured brokers, Jim Carrillo, had sent this article to me to kind of share. I found it really interesting. 13 reasons why gold has outperformed stocks since 2000. And, as I got, it's fair. In fact, for those of you tuned in, I would highly encourage you you'll see in our show description the hot link there where you can read this article. It's a quick read, but if you really want to get a good understanding of why gold has been moving up and what causes it to move up, this is an excellent read. And all of which, Chris, they're topics that we've been discussing on this podcast for a couple of years now.
Yep.
So, and I'll read through them quickly and we can talk about it. But you have number one, a haven during uncertain times. You have geopolitical disagreements as a second, Federal Reserve, some of the things that they're doing, the monetary policy, et cetera. Inflation in the US dollar. We all know that's a real thing. Central banks buying gold, national debt, it's global emulation, US political instability. That's the seventh. The global public policy divide. We see a lot of that for sure. Philosophy. Boy, I don't know. I can't speak today, Chris. Philosophy and economic growth. Number 10, the stock market and US GDP. Number 11, the true intentions of BRICS, which is replacing the US dollar. We've talked extensively about that. Technological advancements and the AI boom. And I found that one interesting because AI has obviously taken the world by storm, especially the financial markets. And many people may not be aware that gold is a very central part of that because of its non-corrosive aspects and its conductivity. And then
Hmm.
number 13, the supply of gold continues to be outpaced by demand. So again, there's a lot of very short paragraphs here describing each of these, but that's why for those tuned in, I would really suggest or highly recommend take a few minutes and kind of read through there, and it'll kind of give you a pretty good picture, A, of why gold's been doing what it's doing, but B, why you can likely expect it to continue doing what it's been doing. So, what are your thoughts there, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, what was great about this is I feel like it sort of summarized clearly the last 25 years and a lot of the things that we've been talking to our clients about for that same period of time. So it sort of vindicates the precious metals industry, I would say, because for so many years we've had to listen to financial planners or stockbrokers mostly who want to sell stocks. They don't want to sell gold typically, and so we always get kind of beat up and cheap shots here and there. And what's great is this really shows you over the last 25 years how well gold has done. I
Right.
mean, outperforming the stock market in almost every category. And I also like they broke it down to show, from 2000 to 2005, it did that. From 2005 to 2015, it did that. It's not just this 125-year window, but a lot of the little windows in between. So that was very interesting. And then I also loved seeing the purchasing power of the dollar, which we've talked about for many years. But they specifically show that the dollar only purchases about 16% of what it did 50 years ago. But if you had had your money in gold 50 years ago, that gold today would still purchase more than 100% of what it bought back then. So
Right.
it would have actually grown in value and bought you the same goods. Again, these are things that we talk about a lot with our clients, but I think the average person doesn't know. So with that, and then all the supply limits that they are talking about, and really they point out that everything would have to change in our current system. Our fiscal discipline, economic freedom, stable governments, these things that we're missing all over the world, not just here in the U.S., would have to change in order for this to reverse course. So I really don't see anything changing as far as gold's value in people's portfolios.
Sure. No, I completely agree. And another interesting thing I'll point out, and you're obviously well aware of, Chris, the the approach or the philosophy at Swiss America, our approach to this whole topic of diversification in gold.
Hmm.
The majority of our clients, I would say, are involved in our market, not really even for the growth or appreciation. That's not why they got into it. They got into it just to be diversified, just to be balanced. And I mean, for how many years gold prices were a little flat, they were a little stable because of some of the other markets that might have been thriving, or just,
Hmm.
some of these things we mentioned here, there weren't perhaps the inflationary concerns, or there weren't there wasn't BRICS doing what they're doing, that's for sure,
Right.
and all the other geopolitical things. So what's key is, like, you have so many people who they did this just to diversify. They took 10, 20, 25% of their portfolio, depending on the person and their situation,
Hmm.
just to be in there as a hedge, and left 75, 80, 90% of their monies, in other areas, albeit real estate, stocks, what have you. This was just a step they took as a just in case. And
Hmm.
but yet, in this just in case, since the year 2000, we've been seeing some very good moves, and price appreciation and performance out of gold.
Hmm.
So looking to the future, supply and demand, that's what drives any market. And that's why I pulled up this second article here, Chris, visualizing how much gold is left to mine on Earth. And when you really think about it, and you look at this picture, and again, those of you tuning in, you can click on the link for this one as well, where you've got, they have a pickup truck, and then they have a large block of gold, which is reflective of a 216,000 ton block of gold.
Hmm.
That represents all the gold that's ever been mined. And they have this next to a pyramid too. I know you can see it, Chris, but for those
Yeah.
of you just listening, and then the what remains to be mined, what's the known gold out there that remains to be gotten, we'll say, is only 64,000 tons. So,
Hmm.
like, three quarters of the, give or take, three quarters of the gold out there, that is out there to be had, has already been mined, is already in somebody's possession. And so, again, now you look at as well what they're utilizing gold for with AI and whatnot. The demand for gold and the usage of gold is only increasing, and you are dealing with an absolute asset that has a very finite supply to it when you get right down to it.
Yep. Yeah, I like how they pointed out here also that when we think of gold, at least in my mind, I think, boy, this has been used for quite literally thousands of years as money, and a store of wealth, whether it be in people's jewelry or early minted coins, and things of that nature. But they point out that most of the gold that we have now has only been mined since about 1950, because technology, obviously at that time after the Industrial Revolution, made it a lot easier to get the gold out of the ground. And so if we've mined about three quarters of the total supply that we know of, on the planet, and the bulk of that has been done since 1950. It makes me think by the time we hit 2050, which, as crazy as it is only 25 years from now, It's hard for my mind to actually compute that. Is there going to be any gold left in the ground? I don't know how many more years we really have to be able to locate it and pull it out of the earth. So once that supply continues to thin, like with anything, demand is going to shoot through the roof. Kind of like masks during COVID, or vehicles. Once the manufacturing plants shut down for a few months, all of a sudden used car prices were higher than new. If you have great beachfront property, right? Not many people are hurting when they try to sell their beach house, right? Because there's only so much shoreline in a nice part of the country, and so people will pay exorbitant prices to have a home there. And I think that's the same thing that we're going to see with gold as supply continues to dwindle.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And it states in here as well, these are that 64,000 tons, that's with known mines out there. There could
Yeah,
potentially be, and probably are, other deposits where they, mineral deposits, et cetera, that you'll find gold existing in. But, you know, the other side of that is it's 2025. We've got
hmm,
drones and we've got technology, that can do a lot of various different things. With that
yeah,
being said, you would think at this stage, most of the gold mines out there, or whatever mines were out there, they've probably done a pretty good job of trying to find or locate. So,
right,
nonetheless, all right, Chris. Well, thank you for all that. And for those of you
yeah,
tuned in, thanks for doing so. If you're not subscribed to this podcast, we'd love for you to do that as well. If you'd like more information on gold, please feel free and contact our office. We encourage you to do that. You can do it at 1-800-289-2646. You can also text us at 1-800-289-2646. And we'd be happy to get out to you some information explaining this market to you more. You can also visit us online at www.swissamerica.com. Both the phone number and the website you'll find in the description of our podcast as well. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to talking to you again really soon.
yep. Take care.